Good evening, welcome to Undaunted, bringing it to the news Untold Stories. I am Oni Okpala. Let's begin. The interim government has distanced itself from all activities of the ADF and Unity warriors. The notable IC-style execution of La République du Cameroon and ADF is unfortunate. FM Isobu was a valiant fighter who served his people with zeal, passion, and compassion. And it explains why the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, has declared a day of mourning for the fallen martyr Isobu and others. And so, the 16th day of April 2022 has been declared to be a National Day of Mourning, while Sunday, 17th of April, will be tagged Fire for Fire National Emergency Fundraiser in his honor. French presidential candidate Le Pen Foreign could be her own stumbling block, though she happens to be a very close contender against incumbent President Macron. The recent polls are seeming unfavorable for her. Britain tightens immigration policy and uses a cheap but Rwanda for a backup plan. Since yesterday's announcement by the British PM, there have been divergent opinion polls. Interestingly, United States of America hastens Ambazonia's liberation. In tonight's Undaunted, we will shed more light on Award 22 and the emergency fundraiser for Boye Ngakentuja, Indian slated this Sunday. But before then, let's get the prime headlines.
Prime headlines. Fond of Mbambala allegedly killed. Field Marshal Nsobu was a patriot and a peace lover. He was murdered by internal enablers disguised as unity warriors, says President Sako. The Choayaba terrorist forces, in alliance with the unity warriors, kill a family member of a die-hearted Choayaba supporter, Immaculate Nkume. French presidential candidate Marine Le Pen says NATO should become greater allies with Russia through strategic rapprochement, sparking furious accusations of appeasement. Paul Kagame's Rwanda shockingly struck a deal with Britain to receive some asylum seekers in the East African country. Analysis from UEFA Champions League.
We sincerely apologize for coming a bit behind schedule and also appreciate your patience for standing by. We are here with the news. The interim government distances herself from all activities of the ADF and Unity warriors. The notable IC-style execution of La République du Cameroon and ADF is unfortunate. Let me remind you of some instances. Cameroon gendarmerie decapitated Sam Sawyer, a crippled man. The ADF arrested and killed the DO in 2017. And I'm very sure you have all seen the video of the man being decapitated by the so-called Unity Warriors ADF. It is our responsibility to continually bring to your attention these facts. Now I understand the Smart has a coverage of the abducted Mbambalang phone by the ADF. Talk to us, please, sir.
Unconfirmed reports reaching Undaunted newsroom indicate that the phone of Mbambalang abducted by ADF terrorists in custody on March 27, 2022. He succumbed to his injuries after undergoing months of extreme cruelty and torture. A faction of the Unity Warriors operating under ADF are believed to be responsible for His Majesty's death, but have been terrified to announce the phone's sudden demise. This is because the backlash and reprisal from the population will be far-reaching and severe, considering the recent conflict between Amba fighters and their communities. At the same time, it is dangerously delicate and sensitive, both traditionally and politically. Will be far-reaching and severe, considering the recent conflicts between Amba fighters and their communities. At the same time, it is dangerously delicate and sensitive, both traditionally and politically. Before his abduction, the Fawn doubled as the president of the Northwest Regional House of Assembly and was thus a de facto representative of the colonial head of state. The Yaoundé government has been quiet since the abduction, and the public will be eager to know what efforts the government have made to free the Fawn who supported them from captivity. It will be recalled that another Fawn, that of Essu and his wife, were waylaid and shot to death several weeks ago by what was then reported to be Mbororo Fulani militias. The killers have since been confirmed as a hand-picked squad of ADF separatist terrorists dispatched specifically for this task and with assistance from some indigenes of Essu. According to sources reaching our offices, these targeted killings are a new standing strategy by separatist terrorist ADF to delegitimize traditional rule. This will facilitate coordinated intertribal conflicts by stirring up underlying animosities, fear, distrust, and scapegoatism amongst communities. The ADF had already secretly tabled, approved, and adopted this devious strategy as a future tool to cause a Rwandan-style strife between Anglophones and Francophones of Cameroon. Unfortunately, the vulnerable Mbororos are the guinea pigs of this strategy. They are the first names of the ADF separatists' incessant and relentless lust for power. It is unfortunate only.
The President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikamasako, declares a day of mourning for the fallen martyr Isobu. FM Isobu was resilient, steadfast, focused, and toed the line of the IG against his distractors. ADF Unity warriors corrupted with La République du Cameroun bees and bloody money to kill the restoration struggle. Following this big loss to the liberation struggle, the president of the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia has declared, in his words, I read, FM Isobu was a patriot and a peace lover. He was murdered by internal enablers disguised as unity warriors. So we have declared Saturday, the 16th of April 2022, a national day of mourning. Sunday 17th will be our Fire for Fire national emergency fundraiser in his honor. Now, if you will remember, yesterday we had the Director of Resource Mobilization, Nijo, but unfortunately we had some technical connectivity there. Mr. Smart, can you give us a recap of the detail he mentioned?
Prior to Nijo's visit with us here in Undaunted yesterday, he had released the documents which I will just go through carefully. Federal Republic of Ambazonia, British Southern Cameroons, Department of Resource Mobilization, DORM, 6218 Georgia Avenue, NW, Suite 1459. Washington, D.C., 200115125. Office 202-516-7612. Fax 202-851-4930. Memo. Subject. Award 2022 Pre-Planning Action Points. Form. Dorm NNT. Dated 12th April 2022. 2. Communications and IT SOS USOS. Director ABC TV News. DHA and CM SOS USOS County Local Government Area Leadership. Comrades of the former Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia movement, with the draft season looming amidst recent internal split leading to the slaughter of FM Isobu, the following action points were arrived at the Award 2022 pre-planning meeting of 10th April. 1. National Emergency Fundraising NEF event to be conducted for Bui, April 17th, Ngaketunja, April 23rd, Indian, May 7th. To ensure a successful NFD, every Amazonian is encouraged to donate $100 minimum cash payment during the event or latest 5 working days after pledge. Various local government areas and counties to agree their donations based on affordability. For this NFD, please use the ABC Amba TV payment platform and label your payments NFD-B for Bui, NFD-NG for Ungoketunja, and NFD-ND for Indian. This is very important. 2. Award 22 to be formally launched nationwide on May 28. Traditionally, this is for all leaders at local government area, county, and all tiers of government, including interim House representatives, ethics, judiciary, and cabinet members. 3. Award 2021 certificates are crucial for the success of Award 22, and in order to boost our confidence, local government areas, counties, financial secretaries, treasurers are encouraged to submit their request list for Award 2021 certificates to DORM. List must highlight total draft amount paid by each applicant latest April 25, 2022. 4. Award 22 season spans from May 28 to August 28, 2022. County leadership are encouraged to indicate when they would like to hold their draft event with DORM before May 27th to allow for the draft rota to be announced during the launching event. Thank you for your cooperation. Ambazonia must be free. Signed, Nijo, Ma Irene, and Ma Victorian.
In 1949, after the end of World War II, states adopted the 4 Geneva Conventions as they exist today. These conventions remains the cornerstone of IHL. Now, IHL is the body of rules to protect civilians and people who are no longer fighting, including wounded and sick military personnel and prisoners of war, and this has been in existence since the 12th of August 1949. Now, the ADF of Cho has not only been functioning in defiance of these conventions and the principles of war, they have notably been working in favor of Cameroon forces of occupation. Mr. Smart, what do you think?
I think that the criminal, unjustified evil mechanizations of the ADF can never be overemphasized. Just to add to what you said, the Geneva Convention regulating the conduct of war illustrates very clearly stipulated humane treatment for all persons in enemy hands without discrimination. It specifically prohibits murder, mutilation, torture, the taking of hostages, unfair trial, and cruel, humiliating, and degrading treatment. It requires that the wounded, sick, and shipwrecked be collected and cared for. But we have seen the forces loyal to Biya and Cho Ayaba during the ongoing war in Homefront Ambazonia doing the exact opposite of this. This time around, only a few days after the murder of Insobu, it cut them right at their neck. The Cho Ayaba terrorist forces in alliance with the Unity Warriors killed a family member of a die-hearted Cho Ayaba supporter. Immaculate Nkume is her name. She cries out after the same group she supports killed her brother who worked for the penitentiary in the Midland zone of Ambazonia. She said, "My younger brother is not a soldier. My younger brother would not kill an ant. My younger brother was just doing his job." This is unfortunate, but Ambazonians do not seem to be sympathetic because she has been seen defending and supporting Cho Ayaba on several counts, doing the exact same thing to other civilians. Kigatido Kume, who was the colonial regional delegate for penitentiary, was killed by the Cho Ayaba. The Buyi Unity Warriors claimed responsibility. He was among 3 others who were randomly attacked and killed in Kikai Kilaiki, Buyi County on April 12, 2022. The UGFC has not made any official statement in this regard. Capo Daniel, who is the defense chief of ADF, was the first to announce publicly to claim responsibility for the act. Immaculate and several other Ambazonian civilians have lost their loved ones in the ongoing armed conflict, particularly the ADF, while others have had their houses burned down. It is now clear that the forces of occupation, I mean the BIR of La République du Cameroon, now do exactly the same thing the ADF of AGFC does. It is worthy to note that This same group has infiltrated the Ambazonian Restoration Forces, and they are the same ones who killed FM Isobu of Buyi. Thanks to Kemi Ashu, we want to bring you a list of Ambazonians and fighters killed by ADF of Agaf-C, only those we know of. There could be more. Now take note, these are mostly the popular ones. General Akuma, Simonik of Lebiolem, General Ivo Mba of Batibo, Sleazy of Moyenge, Godfather of Moyenge, General Mad Dog of Mbatu, Amber Queen of Balinyonga, General Koraman of Balinyonga, General Biebie, Guzang Massacre, General Ivo of Teke, General Amiko of Bello, General King of Likumba, General Point of Wututu, General Wazuzu, General Divine, Commander Best, Commander Bad Beef, Commander Fawn of Buyi, General Wata, General Chacha of Buyi, General Ayeke, General Shakira, General Commando, FM Isobo. Can you imagine? With these details, you might want to question who the ADF of Agaf-C is working for, as right now it is difficult to make this distinction between the La République du Cameroon forces of occupation and the ADF of Agaf-C.
Le Pen, who faces President Emmanuel Macron in a runoff to be president of France on April 24th, said there should be a strategic rapprochement between NATO and Russia once the bloody war in the Ukraine has come to a close. The news conference took place against the backdrop of furious protesters outside who branded her as Putin's accomplice. A protester even got past security to brandish a heart-shaped picture of Le Pen and Russian President Vladimir Putin before she was quickly dragged out by security guards. Could her foreign policy make or mar her come April 24th? Or will she be able to unseat Macron? Now that is a million-dollar question. Gab Ellison has a closer look at this issue.
It is important to note that French socialist, Green, conservative candidates backed Macron in the election runoff against Le Pen. French President Emmanuel Macron on Sunday received the backing of the defeated socialist, communist, Green and conservative candidates in his second-round election battle later this month against far-right leader Marine Le Pen. Her only endorsement has come from her hard-right challenger, Eric Zemmour. In a boost for the president, Communist Party candidate Fabian Russell, Socialist Anne Hidalgo, Yannick Jadot of the Greens and right wing, the Republican candidate Valérie Pécresse said they would vote for him to prevent the far-right leader coming to power. So that France does not fall into hatred of all against all, I solemnly call on you to vote on April 24th against the far-right of Marine Le Pen, Hidalgo said. Pécresse warned of disastrous consequences if Macron did not win the runoff. French hard-left candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon simply called on his supporters not to vote for Le Pen in the second round of the presidential election that takes place on April 24th. We know for whom we will never vote. You should not support Le Pen. There must not be one single vote for Le Pen in the second round, Mélenchon said in a speech to his supporters on Sunday. But Le Pen can bank on support from far-right candidate Eric Zemmour, who called on Sunday evening for his supporters to vote for her, despite his disagreements with her. I call on my voters to vote for Marine Le Pen, the leader of the Reconquest Party, which was eliminated in the first round with around 7% of the vote, said in a speech. I do have disagreements with Marine Le Pen, but she is facing a man who has brought 2 million immigrants into France, he said of Macron. The truth is, the polls are not looking healthy for Le Pen. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
May be infinite, but our capacity to help people is not. So from today, our new migration and economic development partnership will mean that anyone entering the UK illegally, as well as those who have arrived illegally since January the 1st, may now be relocated to Rwanda. This innovative approach, driven by our shared humanitarian impulse and made possible by Brexit freedoms, will provide safe and legal routes for asylum while disrupting the business model of the gangs. Because it means that economic migrants taking advantage of the asylum system will not get to stay in the UK, while those in genuine need will be properly protected including with access to legal services on arrival in Rwanda, and given the opportunity to build a new life in that dynamic country, supported by the funding we are providing. The deal we've done is uncapped, and Rwanda will have the capacity to resettle tens of thousands of people in the years ahead. We're confident that our new migration partnership is fully compliant with our international legal obligations. But nevertheless, we expect this will be challenged in the courts. And if this country is seen as a soft touch for illegal migration by some of our partners, it is precisely because we have such a formidable army of politically motivated lawyers who for years have made it their business to thwart removals and frustrate the government. So I know that this system will not take effect overnight, but I promise that we will do whatever it takes to deliver this new approach.
As you can see for yourself, Rwanda has struck a deal with Britain to receive some asylum seekers in the East African country. The move has been criticized by UK opposition politicians and refugee groups as inhumane and unworkable. Speaking in Rwanda's capital, Patel said resettled people would be given support for up to 5 years, including training, accommodations, and healthcare, so they can resettle and thrive. Patel visited Kigali to sign what the two countries call an economic development partnership. The plan will see some people who arrived in Britain in small boats across the English Channel picked up by the UK government and flown 6,400 kilometers to Rwanda, apparently for good. Rwanda confirmed the deal in a statement, but neither government provided full details of how it would work. Speaking at a joint news conference with Patel, Rwanda Minister of Foreign Affairs Vincent Biruta said the deal was giving migrants the chance to make new lives in our country as full members of our communities, he said. Biruta added the deal was mutually beneficial and would help Rwanda advance its own development. And for those who do not wish to make Rwanda their new home, they will be facilitated to return to their countries of origin or settle in other receiving countries, Biruta explained. Rwanda is the most densely populated nation in Africa, and competition for land and resources there has already fueled decades of ethnic and political tensions that culminated in the 1994 genocide, in which more than 800,000 ethnic Tutsis and the Hutsis who tried to protect them were killed. Human rights groups have repeatedly criticized President Paul Kagame's current government for being repressive. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, however, insisted that Rwanda had totally transformed in the last 2 decades. Britain says relocation decisions will not be based on migrants' country of origin, but on whether they used illegal or dangerous routes to reach the UK from a safe country such as France. Not all such arrivals will be considered suitable to be sent to Rwanda. It was unclear what the criteria for making the decisions would be. Previous policies of sending refugee applicants abroad have been highly controversial. Israel sent several thousand people to Rwanda and Uganda under a contentious and secretive voluntary scheme between 2014 and 2017. Few are believed to have remained there, with many trying to reach Europe. Migrants have long used northern France as a launching point to reach Britain, either by stowing away in trucks or on ferries, or increasingly since the coronavirus pandemic shut down other routes in 2020 in dinghies and other small boats organized by smugglers. More than 28,000 people entered the UK on small boats last year, up from 8,500 in 2020. Dozens have died, including 27 people in November when a single boat capsized. Still, Valdez-Simons, refugee director at Amnesty International UK, said the British government's shockingly ill-conceived idea will go further in inflicting suffering while wasting huge amounts of public money. The chief executive UK-based Refugee Council, Amba Solomon, called it dangerous, cruel, and inhumane. Rwanda opposition figure Victor Ngabire said that her government's decision to take in migrants was questionable, given that the country is also a source of refugees. Rwanda has consistently ranked one of the world's safest nations, but at the same time consistently a country where its inhabitants are unhappy, she said. But it still baffles many how Rwanda could even still consider such. Now with the Western Sahara, Algeria accuses Morocco of killing 3 in Western Sahara. Tensions between Algeria and Morocco have risen again after reports of a Moroccan airstrike, which killed 3 people in the contested territory of Western Sahara. Algeria has claimed that the attack on a convoy close to the Mauritanian border was targeted. Although Morocco has de facto control of much of the territory, its claim to it is not recognized by the UN or most of the international community. Although the US did agree to recognize its sovereignty in 2020 in exchange for concessions on Israel. In West Africa, German FM calls for an end to Mali's cooperation with Russia. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has urged the Malian transitional government to stop cooperating with Russian forces. This was after a meeting with the transitional president of Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta, in Bamako on Wednesday. The minister said crimes in Mali had the same pattern used by Russian forces in Syria and Ukraine. This is what we got for Africa today.
Thank you so much, Star Smart, for that report. Now, remember, we promised to continue the historical resume. Now, this is one compiled for your pleasure. Star Smart, we can't wait to listen to this particular piece.
In our editorial of today, we will be bringing part 2 of the brief Ambazonian history we have been able to put together for your enjoyment. But first, let me give you a recap. Yesterday, part 1, we gave an executive summary and historical timeline from pre-1858 Amba's Bay before the arrival of the Europeans. Today, part 2, we begin with historical timelines from the 1858, the city of Victoria established by Alfred Secker. In 1858, British missionary Alfred Secker founded a settlement for freed slaves at the bay, which was later renamed Victoria. However, Joseph Merrick, a black freed Jamaican slave, had in 1844 visited Bimbia near Victoria from their settlement in Fanao Dopo and spoke to King William of Bimbia, of the Isubu people to request permission to establish a church on the mainland. After the initial resistance, he was granted permission, and in 1844 to 1845, he founded the Jubilee Mission when the Spanish government expelled the Protestant missionaries from Fanao Dopo in 1858. Secker undertook the construction of Victoria as a permanent missionary station and capital of the settlement, named after the British monarch, Queen Victoria. Now we move into 1884, establishment of the Ambas Bay Protectorate. On 19 July 1884, the British Ambas Bay Protectorate was established, subordinated to the Oil Rivers Protectorate with Victoria as its capital. Amber means fertile dark brown soils. Ambas Bay and Ambas Bay Colony had international legal status, close to becoming an independent country. It is only logical that all the lands lying behind Ambas Bay, as defined by international treaties separating them from Nigeria and Cameroon, belongs to the Ambas Bay Protectorate. Ambazonia is therefore an internationally recognized entity with a long history, though interrupted by a brief period of German colonial rule, followed by the League of Nations and UN trusteeship system administration. And finally, for today, 1887, the Ambas Bay Protectorate ceded to Germany. Contrary to popular accounts, the Ambas Bay Protectorate was not incorporated and ceded to Germany in 1884 after Berlin Conference, but was only done so later in 1887. It must be noted also that the locals, the people of the Protectorate, were not necessarily consulted nor signed off the transfer of their territory to German Cameroon. That's why the resistance of German efforts pacifying the territory was fiercely resisted and led by great warrior kings like Chief Kuva Linkenyan, the founder of the Boya dynasty. He was the brain behind the Bakweri War of Resistance in 1891 to 1894 against Gravenroot, the German commander. Fired up by the spirit of the ancestors and spiritually inspired by the mountain god Ifaso Moto or the mountain goddess Lengu Lalelu, or better still by the founding father of Boya, Eye Nje Tama Lifanje, He mobilized an army of over 500 Bakweri warriors to stop the German advances. Similar resistance in the Mafe, Bangwa, Bamenkom areas to the German incursions show a certain patriotic spirit among the people of the Ambas Bay from the coast to the hinterland. Once again, a special thanks to our editor-in-chief and news director, Ta Hardy King. On Monday, we will be bringing part 3. Now, if you want to get more of such interesting historical facts, visit our website at www.abcambertv.com for more. I am Star Smart reporting for Undaunted ABC Amber.
Biden's administration to grant temporary protection to Cameroonians. Sir, do you think that these facts, which we brought in our yesterday's news, were expressing concerns as to how Ambazonia refugees are treated abroad? And then having this today really sounds like sweet breaking news.
Indeed, it is a good Friday for Ambazonians in seeking to regularize their immigration status in the United States of Ambazonia and to the nation of Ambazonia as a whole. As reported by the Washington Post at 9 a.m. Eastern Time this Friday, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas granted immigrants from Cameroon temporary protection in the United States on Friday, allowing them to remain in the country for 18 months and apply for work permits.
Only Cameroonians living in the United States as of April 14th are eligible for temporary protected status, TPS, which typically benefits undocumented immigrants and those with visas that are set to expire. Now, a 1990 immigration law authorizes a DHS to grant protection to people from nations experiencing war, natural disasters, and other extraordinary and temporary conditions. In the Cameroon decision, DHS cited the years-long armed conflict between the country's English-speaking minority and French-speaking majority and a significant rise in attacks by the extremist group Boko Haram.
The report also states officials said that hundreds of thousands of displaced Cameroonians lack access to critical services such as hospitals and schools, and that the violence has triggered a humanitarian crisis of economic and food insecurity. Mayorkas said the condition make it unsafe for Cameroonians to return home. The United States recognizes the ongoing armed conflict in Cameroon and will provide temporary protection to those in need, he said in a statement. Cameroonian nationals currently residing in the United States who cannot safely return due to the extreme violence perpetrated by government forces and armed separatists and a rise in attacks led by Boko Haram will be able to remain and work in the United States until conditions in their home country improve. Interestingly, the designation adds Cameroon for the first time to a growing list of countries such as Sudan, Haiti, and Ukraine, to which Mayorkas has used his executive authority to prevent immigrants from being deported. The Center for American Progress, a think tank, estimated that as many as 40,000 Cameroonians, 32,700 adults, and 7,300 children could be eligible for protection. This is a big one, Onyi, because such statistics are the ones the Cameroon would rather choose to distort. It goes further to say that the designation takes effect when the notice is published in the Federal Register and applicants must pay a fee and clear background checks.
Now, another important aspect of the Washington Post report is that The temporary status offers a measure of stability for Cameroonians who have been in limbo for years, but it is far from the permanent legal status many hoped for under the Biden administration, by the way. President Biden has sent a bill to Congress that would create a path to citizenship for the estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants, including Cameroonians in the United States. But the measures has gained little traction in Congress amid frustration over record-breaking influx of migrants at the US-Mexico border this year. The Trump administration had attempted to sharply curtail the use of temporary protected status, complaining that it is often extended long after the initial emergency has passed. Salvadorans, the largest group with TPS, have had the status since 2001.
I think it is important to bring to memory the fact that Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced in June that his agency will impose visa restrictions on those involved in undermining peace in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, and that the United States is committed to ending and continuing it's committed rather to ending the continuing violence. But advocates for immigrants said visa restrictions would not shield Cameroonians from being deported into dangerous conditions. 68 advocacy groups called on Blinken this month to recommend more countries to DHS for the TPS facility, including Cameroon, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Guatemala, Lebanon, and Mauritania.
To crown it all up, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a coalition of more than 230 national organizations, called for the immediate designation of TPS for Cameroon in February. It cited a report by Human Rights Watch, which found that government security forces and other subjected deported immigrants and their family members to beatings, extortions, and even rape from 2019 to 2021. This is indeed a big one for Ambazonians. Now, let's move into our interview studio because we need more analysis on this particular issue. So, Director Tapa the King will give us that analysis. But first, we need to get into our interview studio. Hello, Director. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me today? I hope my connectivity is okay today.
Yeah, I can hear you. You'll just be a little bit more audible so that I can hear that clearly.
Never mind, I don't mind. I may even shout.
All right, so
I'm trying to follow Facebook comments to be sure that the audience are getting me clear because I have something really
yes.
vital to tell.
All right, but before I even get into the question, I can sense some excitement from your voice. So, yeah, so this decision by Biden's administration, how excited are you about this particular decision?
I think the excitement is not just coming from me alone. I think it's coming from the entire nation of Amazonia, the diasporic community and the territorial community of Amazonia is celebrating. And the wonderful thing about it is that even French Cameroonians are also celebrating because they kind of benefit in this boldness of the never again generation of Amazonia. But that is not the concern here. I know civilians are concerned about their regularizing their immigration status in the United States of America. That is vital. But a bigger part of the story is the diplomatic gain that Amazonia is making at this very critical time. I think the United States of America has made a very categorical statement. And that statement is that there is war. This is what Rene Sadi's communication has worked hard and tirelessly within the 3 years to corrupt the international community so that we do not have our stories communicated the way we should. It is an open secret that the French, the France is corrupting the UN Security Council so that our discussion will not be on top of the table. But the world superpower, United States of America, via the help of the intergovernment partnership and some activism and the firepower that's going on the ground, has made a categorical statement. The world can no longer hide it. Interesting thing about the report you just reading a couple of minutes ago is that statistics that you will not find on the mainstream. Washington Post has said it all today. They have given us the number of people that are facing the risk. Interestingly, there is a comparison between the war that is going on in Amazonia and the war in Ukraine. What does this imply? The support that Vladimir Putin is already receiving from the West is the same support that President Sarko should receive so that we kick away the colonizers out of our land. The support, the humanitarian support that the Ukrainians, babies, have been receiving just under 2 months. The United States of America has set the pace for other nations in Europe and other parts of the world to start respecting, understanding that the peoples of the former British Southern Cameroons, today Amazonia, deserve, it is their human rights to be protected home and abroad from a criminal regime or a tyrannic regime like the regime of President Pobia. And this brings me very closely to a very vital discussion, which has been for about 6 months in Amazonia. You have the former Secretary of State for Communications and IT, Chris Ann, trying to evangelize and communicate that the struggle is not making progress. I believe today is his answer. I told people, fortunately, he's no longer there, and we have a technocrat, which Dr. Munga at the helm. He was not a good communicator. Just a few days ago, he wanted to tell people that something is happening in Ukraine and nothing is happening. But Biden's administration has countered that. We do not have so much to talk about such nonsense talk. We don't have monologues, that empty monologues to tell Amazonians. Today, the Washington Post has said it all. And now to crown this segment of my discussion, if you noticed, the president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, in reaction to this, will be with Undaunted tomorrow. The office of the president has just hinted us. He has established that on his platform. We're going to work with the vice president to make that announcement. So Amazonians watching, the president will be receiving an interview from the newsroom tomorrow in reaction of this diplomatic gain that the nation of Amazonia has just achieved this afternoon. And very importantly, the president highlighted messages he has received from the newly appointed Field Marshal Sagun of Oketunja. Great things are happening. As usual, what used to happen last year summer is happening. You're getting popcorns in Amazonia from Oketunja to Lebialem, and every county is responding. And Lava Storm 3 has been activated. It tells you why you must galvanize yourself to be with the president on Sunday. You have to be with the president on Sunday. And tomorrow, as you know, the president has declared it a national day for mourning for all our fallen heroes. But Sunday is exceptional. There is enough reasons why Amazonians from every corner of the world will have to join the president on the Zoom. This is the strategist. This is the man who knows what to do. Why others, naysayers, the Cho Ayabas, the federalists are wanting you to go to Yaoundé, the president believes like never before. And today is his answer that we're going to Boya. And what the United States of America has done today, looking at what they are doing for refugees, is the minor. The bigger part of it is that Ambazonia is free and is really free. And one of these days, we'll all be in Boya. I guess you understand the reason for excitement right now.
Oh, yes, very clearly. But then I would have asked that you give us some tips about the announcement by the president tomorrow. But then I think that I would be patient enough for that particular announcement tomorrow. But before you go, please, there is a video I would want you to analyze before you go. Please take a watch at this particular video.
Fellow Amazonians, I bring to you a big, very big diplomatic breakthrough. This is breaking news coming from the Biden administration from the United States of America. Today is Good Friday, the 15th of April in the year of our Lord 2022. We are just being informed, and it has been published in all major networks in Africa, that the Biden administration has granted temporary protection status to Southern Cameroonians. It means diaspora lied, and they keep lying. They keep lying. They keep lying. Give you false hope. They tell you things that you think it is a lie. They will lie you today, lie you tomorrow, lie you in the future. I've told you that we have no government. It's a lie that we told you. And I'm telling you, we have no government. It's a lie we told you. Say, if you put Chris Animal and Paul Biya and have a gun with one bullet, what I will do, I will gun down Chris Animal first. That bullet and kill Paul Biya later. Because he's a chief manipulator. He's a chief liar. Dr. Choyaba, your leadership failed in the case of Nguza.
My fellow Amazonians, this is Dr. Choyaba. Those who declare war on us do not have the luxury to determine when that war ends. Let Cameroon understand this.
Look, independence is abstract. The notion of Ambazonia is abstract. Look, independence is abstract. The notion of Ambazonia is abstract.
Mr. Paddy, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes. Those videos, they actually sound a bit complicated. What do you think about those clips?
You see, it's unfortunate. I'm laughing, but in my spirit, I would say I'm kind of crying because it's pathetic to see grown-up babies. These are grown-up babies, very inconsistent. I would say these are individuals who really don't know their left from their right. They are just a flop of themselves. You saw there. I like what the newsroom has done, trying to compare today and yesterday of these individuals. They are not different, and that's why you see they're collaborating very strongly lately. They're collaborating with Anu. Anu is the same. He gets on his TV in the morning and says yes to something, and in the evening he says, after all, I don't have evidence. It is not true. It's quite unfortunate. Mark Barata in 2016 was purportedly a blogger. The struggle helped him to have a large platform, but I would say that he did not understand the historicity and the legality of Ambazonia's right, what is necessary for the time. I'm just following some of the comments now. Ambazonian Act is saying that Mark Barata a few days ago endorsed Camto. Camto was the presidential candidate of French Cameroon. This is someone who has said categorically that he is not interested in any Ambazonia. In other words, his policy before presidency, if at all he ever wins the presidency, after presidency, is to ensure that Ambazonia remains their slave forever. And you have Mark Barata supported. You are the one that has reported today in your news of Cho Ayaba decapitating Ambazonians. An ISIS-like kind of execution. That is unacceptable. You've read the Geneva Conventions just now in the news. These are war crimes. These individuals are war criminals. You have Mark Barata some time ago when Cho Ayaba was caught in London trying to mortgage the resources of Amazonia. He stayed quiet, he stayed mute. This is a man, when the president does anything, he says something. Just a few days ago, Cho Ayaba has killed the sister of Kume that you read a few minutes ago. And Cho Ayaba is mute. They have beheaded civilians. These individuals slaughter babies. And you find Mark Barata is mute. So Cho Ayaba is another demented Confucianist. Why do I say so? This is a man who has words, empty words. He doesn't even believe in the idea of Amazonia. To him, Amazonia is some cinema, perhaps something for him to show that by some means, by gaining refugee status abroad and benefiting from international support, he studied some English because the statements don't match. They don't match the history of Amazonia that he claims to know. And you can actually match words and actions when it comes to Mr. Cho Ayaba. Cho Ayaba has been for 4 years. You just read dozens of our soldiers killed by these same individuals. This is not an assumption. He said it. His armed group said it. His defense chief, Capo Daniel, says it. When these guys were decapitated a few days ago, Capo Daniel came on air and said so. So you see a terrorist gang. Now Cameroon has planted them there, is paying them some money, and now to blackmail, to sabotage the struggle. But fortunately, ABC Amba TV is there to make the distinction for the international community to know there is a clear difference between the forces loyal to President Sako and these criminal gangs. I don't think I have much to say about it. It's quite unfortunate that we find old men not even being consistent with their own language. I would say they don't really know what they're talking about.
All right, I would have attributed that inconsistency to a lot of things, but I think we should leave it for some other time when we have more time to talk about this particular issue. We need to get back to the news studio to complete the news for tonight.
Thank you very much. I just want to announce Amazonians watching right now. Remember, when we lay hands with the office of the president, we'll be sending out an announcement as to when the president will be coming live to address the nation tomorrow. I guess, you know, when the president talks, he talks sense, he gives strategy, he talks policy, he shakens Yaoundé, and he talks to the international community. I also want to tell you that this big gain of today comes to add up to what the interim government is already doing. There are high-level talks between the interim government of the Federal Republic of Amazonia and the nation of Switzerland. This is an addition. This is an affirmation. Tomorrow, you don't want to miss the time we're going to have with the president. In the next 10 minutes, when the news is over, you will be having ethics for an emerging nation. Like only ABC Amba TV can bring to you such interesting programs.
All right,
Thank you very much for
Director
me this time.
Thank you so much for finding out, making out time to be on the interview studio today.
Thank you for having me.
And to end the news, here is sports. Liverpool's path to the Champions League has become clear following their last 8 aggregate win over Benfica. Guardiola and Manchester City eliminated Atletico Madrid from the Champions League on Wednesday. The African nations are on FIFA's black book following what has been termed as third-party interference in internal matters. Andrew McDonald, named coach of Australia's men's cricket team. Gab Ellison has more on sports.
World Sports, UEFA Champions League. Liverpool 3, Benfica 3, 6-4 on aggregate. Liverpool's path to the Champions League final has become clear following their last 8 aggregate win over Benfica. The Reds claimed the 6-4 aggregate win over Benfica in their quarter-final tie, with the second leg at Anfield finishing 3-3 on the night. An Ibrahima Konate header and a Roberto Firmino brace were enough for the Reds, with Gonzalo Ramos, Roman Yaremchuk, and Darwin Núñez on target for the visitors. Liverpool will take on Villarreal in the semi-finals. Atletico Madrid 0, Manchester City 0, 0-1 on aggregate. Guardiola and Manchester City eliminated Atletico Madrid from the Champions League on Wednesday night after a heated scoreless draw at the Estadio Wanda Metropolitano. Although the game ended 0-0, Man City advanced after their 1-0 first leg win, and there were plenty of talking points in stoppage time alone. Manchester City will battle things out with Real Madrid in the semi-finals. CAF sets tough conditions for Kenya and Zimbabwe following FIFA's suspension. The African nations are on FIFA's black books following what has been termed as third-party interference in internal matters of the respective FAs. African football governing body CAF has set tough conditions for suspended Kenya and Zimbabwe ahead of the 2023 African Cup of Nations finals. The two nations were barred from participating in any football competition and following what the Zurich-based body claimed to be third-party interference in the running of the federations. Reference to the suspension of Zimbabwe and Kenya by FIFA from all football activities in case the suspension is not lifted 2 weeks before their first match day of their qualifiers. Both associations will be considered as losers and eliminated from the competition, a CAF letter read. Consequently, their groups will be composed of 3 teams. The first and runner-up from those groups will qualify for the final tournament. Consequently, the 2 teams, Kenya and Zimbabwe, cannot be drawn in the same group in order to avoid having one group with 2 teams in case suspension for both associations is not limited. Kenyan long-distance runner gets 4-year doping ban. Kenyan long-distance runner Joyce Chepkirui has been banned for 4 years for an athlete biological passport ABP violation. The 33-year-old won the 10,000 meters at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2014 and also took the African title over the same distance in Marrakech that year. Chepkirui has been provisionally suspended since June 2019 after an expert panel studied anomalies in blood samples collected by World Athletics between 2016 and 2017. The panel concluded the likelihood of the abnormalities in results being due to blood manipulation. The artificial increase of red blood cells using a stimulant was high. Chepkirui explained the results by saying she suffered from hormone imbalance and vaginal bleeding, which was caused by a contraceptive injected every 3 months, had an iron-rich diet and took 3 drugs to treat these conditions. However, the Court of Arbitration for Sports decided to ban Chepkirui after upholding an appeal filed by the Athletics Integrity Unit on her 4-year period of ineligibility has been backdated to the start of a provisional suspension. Cricket. Andrew McDonald named coach of Australia's men's cricket team. McDonald, who has been part of Australia's coaching team since 2019, has signed a 4-year contract with Cricket Australia. The former Test all-rounder replaces Jocelyn Langer, who left the role in February after rejecting a short-term contract extension. I am honored to be given this incredible opportunity for what is an exciting period ahead, McDonald said. McDonald took interim charge of Australia's Test and Limited Overs teams on the recent tour of Pakistan. Australia won the 2-match Test series 1-0, lost the one-day series 2-1, and won the sole T20. The journey so far has been particularly pleasing, McDonald said. My plan is to build on the growth, depth, and experience of the squad while working collectively with the group and across the game. McDonald previously led Victoria and the Melbourne Renegades to all 3 domestic titles during the 2018-2019 season and coached Leicestershire in county cricket. He played 4 tests for his country and had a 13-year first-class career with his home state Victoria and Leicestershire in England. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
And with with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that the son of Mambalang has allegedly been killed. FM Isobu was a patriot and a peace lover. He was murdered by internal enablers disguised as unity warrior, says President Sako. The Cho Ayaba terrorist forces in alliance with the Unity Warriors kills a family member of a die-hearted Cho Ayaba supporter, Immaculate Kume. We also told you that the French presidential candidate, Marine Le Pen, says the NATO should become greater allies with Russia through strategic rapprochement, sparking furious accusations for appeasement. Paul Kageme's Rwanda shockingly struck a deal with Britain to receive some asylum seekers in the East African country. And in sports, we brought to you analysis from UEFA Champions League. And that was it for tonight, Undaunted, bringing into the news Untold Stories. I am Oni Okpala. I will leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Thank you for watching.